The morning sun filtered through the windows of Miller's coffee house, casting warm, golden stripes across the wooden tables. It was the kind of gentle light that made everything feel softer, kinder somehow. Marcus Chen stood near the entrance, his Navy security uniform crisp and professional. At 48, he'd been working security at the shopping plaza for 3 years now. Before that, it had been 20 years on the police force. His dark hair was starting to show distinguished threads of silver at the temples. The coffee shop was his regular stop before his shift officially began. He liked the ritual of it. The familiar smell of roasted beans, the friendly nods from other early risers. Simple pleasures, his mother used to call them. That's when he noticed her. A woman in her early 40s stood at the counter, blonde hair falling in soft waves past her shoulders. She wore a crisp white blouse and gray slacks, a brown leather bag slung across her shoulder. There was something refined about her, yet she seemed flustered. "I'm so sorry," she was saying to the young barista, her voice tight with embarrassment. "Could you try it one more time?" The card reader beeped its denial again. Marcus watched as the woman's cheeks flushed pink. She began digging through her bag with trembling hands, pulling out her wallet, checking every compartment. Behind her, a line was forming. He could see the weight of all those waiting eyes settling on her shoulders. He knew that feeling. He'd been there himself years ago after the divorce, when every declined card felt like a public declaration of failure. Without thinking too hard about it, Marcus stepped forward. "Excuse me," he said gently, his voice calm and steady. "I'll take care of this." The woman turned, surprise clear in her blue eyes. "Oh, no, I couldn't possibly—" "It's just coffee," Marcus said with a small smile. "We all have days when things don't go as planned." "No big deal." He handed his card to the barista before the woman could protest further. The transaction went through with a simple beep. "Thank you, Marcus," the barista said, reading his name from the screen. The woman looked at him for a long moment, something unreadable in her expression. Was that moisture gathering in her eyes? "That's incredibly kind of you," she said softly. "I'm Claire." "Claire Bennett." "Nice to meet you, Claire. I'm Marcus Chen." He gave a small nod, the kind that came naturally after years in uniform. "I don't know what to say," Claire continued, her voice catching slightly. "This morning has been, well, it's been difficult. And you didn't have to do this." "Neither did you have to feel embarrassed," Marcus replied. "Technology fails us sometimes. Or maybe the bank's having issues. Happens to everyone." Claire smiled then, really smiled, and something in her seemed to relax. "You're very gracious." "Thank you, Marcus, truly. You're welcome. I hope your day gets better from here." As Marcus collected his own coffee and headed toward the door, he didn't give the interaction much more thought. It was just a cup of coffee. Just a small kindness on an ordinary Tuesday morning, but Claire Bennett stood there a moment longer watching him go. 2 weeks passed like they always do. In a blur of shifts and routines, Marcus had mostly forgotten about the woman with the declined card. Life moved forward, as it does. He was making his rounds through the plaza one afternoon when a man in an expensive suit approached him. "Excuse me, are you Marcus Chen?" Marcus straightened slightly. "Yes, sir." "Can I help you?" "My name is Robert Stanton. I'm with Bennett Enterprises. Ms. Bennett would like to speak with you if you have a moment." "She's waiting in her car just over there." Marcus felt a flutter of confusion. Bennett Enterprises, that was the company that owned this entire shopping center, and half the commercial real estate in the city. "Is there some kind of problem?" "No problem at all," Robert assured him with a warm smile. "Quite the opposite, actually." Curious now, Marcus followed him to a sleek black sedan parked near the main entrance. The back window rolled down, and there she was, Claire Bennett, the woman from the coffee shop. But seeing her now in this context, something clicked. He'd seen her face before. On business magazine covers in the break room, in news articles about the city's most successful entrepreneurs. "Hello, Marcus," she said, her voice as gentle as he remembered. "Would you mind sitting with me for a moment?" Still processing, Marcus slid into the back seat. Claire dismissed Robert with a polite nod, and they were alone. "I imagine you're confused," Claire began, a slight smile playing at her lips. "That's one word for it," Marcus admitted. She took a breath. and he noticed how her hands folded carefully in her lap. "I need to tell you the truth about that morning. My card wasn't actually declined because of a bank error." Marcus waited, giving her space to continue. "I've been conducting an experiment, I suppose you could call it. For the past 6 months, I've been visiting different businesses around the city. My businesses, though the employees don't know who I am. And I've been staging these small moments of need. A declined card, dropping my groceries, asking for directions when I'm clearly lost." She looked out the window, her expression thoughtful. "Do you know what I've learned, Marcus? Most people look away. They pretend not to notice. Or if they do help, there's often an expectation attached. They want something in return, even if it's just recognition or gratitude. But you—" She turned back to face him, and her eyes were bright with emotion. "You helped because it was the right thing to do. You treated me with dignity when I felt embarrassed. You didn't make a show of it, and then you simply walked away." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "I'm not sure I understand what this means." "It means you reminded me of something I'd started to forget," Claire said softly. "That genuine kindness still exists. That not everyone has an angle. That sometimes people help simply because they're good." She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. "I'm offering you a position, Marcus. Director of Security Operations for Bennett Enterprises. It would mean overseeing security for all our properties, managing a team, making real decisions. The salary is substantial. Enough to change your life." Marcus stared at the envelope, his heart pounding. "Ms. Bennett—" "Claire, please, Claire. I'm honored." "I truly am. But I have to ask, is this because I bought you a cup of coffee?" "No," she said firmly. "It's because in a moment when I was testing whether people would see me as a person or as an opportunity, you saw me as a person. That quality, that integrity. It can't be taught. And it's exactly what I need in someone I can trust." Marcus thought about his mother who'd passed 2 years ago. She used to say that how you treat people when no one is watching, "That's who you really are. I spent years on the force trying to help people," Marcus said quietly. "Sometimes I felt like I was making a difference. Other times, not so much. I never thought buying someone coffee would lead to something like this." "That's exactly my point," Claire said. "You weren't trying to lead anywhere. You were just being decent. That's becoming rare, Marcus." He looked down at the envelope in his hands, feeling its weight. Inside was opportunity, change, a different future. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said. "Of course. Why the test? Why not just trust people?" Claire was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of experience. "When you have resources, Marcus, people see the resources first and you second. I've had employees embezzle. Partners betray confidences. People I thought were friends disappear when I couldn't do something for them. After a while, you start to wonder if anyone would care about you if you had nothing." "That sounds lonely," Marcus said gently. "It is," she admitted. "Very lonely. That's why your kindness meant so much. You had no idea who I was. I was just someone having a bad morning, and you helped anyway." Marcus thought about his ex-wife, about the years of slowly growing apart, about his kids, now grown, living their own lives, about the empty apartment he went home to each night. He understood loneliness, too. "I'll accept your offer," he said. "On one condition." Claire raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "Next time you want to buy coffee, just buy coffee. No tests, no experiments, just let people surprise you naturally. Good and bad, because that's real life, you know? Messy and unpredictable and sometimes wonderful." A genuine laugh escaped Claire's lips, bright and unexpected. "You're right. You're absolutely right. Deal." As Marcus stepped out of the car, the envelope secure in his hand, he felt something shift inside him. Not just excitement about the job, though that was there, but something deeper. Hope, maybe. The sense that small choices mattered. That being kind, even when it cost you nothing but a few dollars and a moment of attention, that could ripple outward in ways you'd never expect. He thought about all the times he'd walked past someone in need, all the moments he'd been too tired, too rushed, too wrapped up in his own concerns. This could have been one of those moments, but it wasn't, and that had made all the difference. 6 months later, Marcus sat in his new office on the 12th floor, reviewing security protocols for the Western properties. Through his window, he could see the coffee shop where it all began. He and Claire had become friends, in the way that two people who understand loneliness can. They met for coffee every Tuesday morning. Real coffee, no tests, just conversation. She'd told him more about her journey. Building her company from nothing. Losing her husband to cancer 5 years ago. Learning to trust again after so much loss. He'd shared his own stories, too. The pride and pain of police work. The failure of his marriage. The quiet fear that his best years were behind him. They were just two people, trying to figure out this complicated business of being human. And it had all started because Marcus Chen decided to buy a stranger a cup of coffee. As he turned back to his work, Marcus smiled. His mother had been right about those simple pleasures. Sometimes they were the most profound things of all. Sometimes kindness was its own reward.